gorgeous people. Okay, I'm going to take off my mask, and I would just want to say this really quickly. But pre-COVID, I would have on some vibrant, lovely lipstick. But because of this mask, I don't want you all to think I was like making out with somebody in the closet in the back, so I'm kind of plain. This is what I look like at home. Okay. Hi. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am so honored to be here and to be sharing this time with you and to talk about one of my favorite subjects, especially right now, because I'm going on this journey myself, and I just love sharing all the things that I've learned on my journey, because I think that's kind of the purpose, right? When you learn one thing, you teach it to the person who's next to you, to the people around you. When you've learned that thing, you teach it. And so I'm super excited to talk to you all about that today. I have my notes here, just because I don't want my ADD to take me off to a special magical place. I mean, it might be really fun, but I want to make sure I stay on topic. But I will also like for you all to talk to me too, because I'm used to having like being out and walking amongst folks. So if I ask questions, feel free to shout at me. It will make me happy. I would love that, okay? Okay, so my name is Rashida Bonds, and I will give you all of my titles, okay? I am a wife, I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a sister, and I am a coach. Those are all of my titles. I'm a certified life and family coach, and I work mostly with mamas of magical LGBTQ plus babies. I work with mamas who are tired, who are a lot like I was, who gotten so caught up in motherhood that they forget about or they let go of their own magical journey on this planet. And I also just coach folks who are ready for a change in their life and they vibe with me and they want to work with me for a little bit. These are all my people. That's what I do 9 to 5 on Monday. Well, not, I'm mom too. So anyway, Monday through Friday, that's what I do most of the time. I vibe with my folks. It's funny though, when you declare to yourself, to the universe, and to God that you are going to help people in a certain way, all of the possible challenges in that particular subject come straight for you, right? You all of a sudden have all of these challenges. I want to help people learn how to love themselves and operate in this world with all of the confidence that our Creator could possibly put in our body. And then all of those challenges come right for me, right? So I'm like, okay. And I think the reason that happens is because God wants us to be able to teach from a place of knowing, right? Sometimes it's good to be really book smart about something, but if you can tell someone, look, I lived this, so I know that this is real, it kind of hits home in a different way. So that is where I am. I am gone through a bit of my journey, but also that knowing that you get when you're presented with all of those challenges lets you know that you will always be learning. There will never be a day that I am on this planet that I will not be relearning how to authentically love myself and then be able to overflow that love onto everyone around me, right? Creating my family wasn't easy as I thought it was going to be. We had to go through a lot of fertility. So when I got pregnant, I was so grateful. And I just didn't want to mess it up. I was like, God, I just don't want to mess this up. So I just threw my whole self into it because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, right? And I was also married at that time, and I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna throw myself into being a mom, and I'm gonna throw myself into being a wife, and that is it. Because I'm so grateful for this, and I don't want it to be taken away, so I'm just gonna be this. And my focus was completely outward. I was a wife, and I was a mother, and I was a daughter, and I was a sister. And at that time, I was in coaching school. And you may think that like going through school is a way to kind of focus on yourself, but that was not my intention. And intention is so important, right? And so my intention wasn't to go to school necessarily to make myself feel good about myself. I wanted the people that I was going to be serving once I became a certified coach, my family, my parents, my daughter, and my husband, I wanted them to be proud of me. And all of my energy was going out. It was going to everybody else, and none of that energy was coming back to me. And so it was what felt like I was supposed to do. I felt like that's what society tells us to do. We are here to serve. We are here to give, and that is absolutely true, but there has to be some sort of balance. Now, I had been working at that time for about 20 years or so in the, oh, no, that's not, I'm gonna get there in just a second. So my mentor of 20 years came up to me one day and she was like, Rashida, you know you're supposed to be more than Aaron's wife and Aaron's mother. And I was like, what? And I looked at her like she had 3 heads. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because she knew this was my goal in life, right? You know, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to do. She was like, but you're more than that. And I was like, you're crazy. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I let go of this, God will take it from me because he will think that I am not grateful for this gift, right? And she was like, well, you're wrong, but you'll figure it out. I didn't know what she was talking about, but she was right because there was a part of me that felt like I was doing it wrong. I felt empty. I felt like something just wasn't correct about what I was doing. I thought maybe it was because I was a new mom, or maybe it was because, I don't know, I had never been married before. I don't know. I had found all the reasons to sort of answer why I didn't feel like I was doing it right. But I know now that I was leaving out the most important variable in the situation, which is me, right? But convincing me that I was the most important person in the variable was quite a challenge because I was supposed to be doing all of these things. It's what I should have been doing. Can anybody relate to this of giving out and not knowing? Good, thank you, I feel good, thank you. Now, granted, at this time in my life, I have been working for almost 20 years in the nonprofit arena. And I worked for a program that mostly dealt with women in relationships, wives, mothers, all that kind of stuff. And I would throw out all of the love cliches, the self-love cliches, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna need your help with this. So one of them was like, because this is how I would shoot them out at them. Like, girl, I'm so tired, pew, pew. Here's this love cliche, self-love cliche, like, hey girl, you can't pour from an empty cup, pew, pew. Have you heard that one? Yes. What is another self-love cliche that you've heard?
If you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else.
Ooh, if you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else, right? Pew, pew. I just throw those out at these poor women. What else? Have you heard any other self-love cliche?
Put your own oxygen mask on.
Yes. The plain oxygen mask, right? You have to put your mask on before you put it on anyone else, right? You have to be breathing in order to save your child sitting next to you on the plane. Absolutely. I used to say, pew, pew, I said that. I would say, your family won't be okay if you're not okay. Pew, pew. In my brain, I knew I wasn't lying to them, right? I was saying true things. Those are all true things. It's a cliche because people use it a lot, and people use it a lot because it's true, right? But for me, it wasn't connecting to my spirit. It lived all day in my brain. Yes, this is truth. 2 + 2 is 4, and you can't put on someone else's oxygen mask before you put on your own. Like, those all things live right here. But my spirit wasn't connecting to that because I was so attached to the things that I felt like I should be doing, what should be happening. So, as I talk about self-love and my self-love journey and give you a few tips that I learned along the way, I'm going to now share with you some of those tips that I have. And one of those tips, tip number one, is take the word should out of your vocabulary as soon as possible. It is toxic. We walk around with should so much, right? And I don't know about you, but I have never been excited about doing something that I felt like I should do. I've never been like, ooh, I should take out the trash. This is gonna be fun, right? I should walk a mile. It's gonna be great. So excited about this thing that I should be doing, right? I carried it around like a giant boulder. I took the role of the martyr. I'm doing this is because it's what I should be doing. The result of doing something that you should be doing can have a good feeling though, right? Because people will approve of me if they see that I'm doing this thing that I should be doing. People will think that I am good if I am doing this thing that I should be doing. People will think that I am worthy if they see that I am doing this thing that I should be doing. People will think I am selfless because somehow selfless has become a badge of honor, that we don't care about ourselves or our own well-being, and they will think that about me, and it will be wonderful because I did this thing that I hate doing because it's the thing that I should do, right? Our focus is supposed to be out, out, out. That is what I learned. All of my energy is supposed to go out, out, out. The energy of should isn't restorative. The energy of should isn't sustainable. It isn't love. It is obligation. If you're doing something for someone because you think it is something that you should do, the should squeezes out the possibility of how much love can be inside of that act, because it's more of an obligation than a thing that you are doing from a full cup. I'm gonna throw out the cliches because they are true. They are true, but they are still cliches. But doing something from an overflowing cup because you want to. What about if you approached a thing with the energy of, I would love to do this. I would really like to take a long walk and just spend some time with myself and God. I would love to take out the trash because I know that it makes my house smell better, or whatever the reason is. I am honored to take my grandmother to bingo 3 times a week because it just makes her happy, and I love to see that smile on her face. Those are just different energies. And not only does it serve the people that you're wanting to serve, but it serves you because you are giving from abundance. You are giving from a place of happiness and of love, and not out of a place of obligation. Without the word should, you aren't shackled to the thoughts and opinions of others. You're only subject to your own approval or disapproval. And that is a tricky place, which leads me to the second tip. Speak words of kindness to yourself. Last year, I was talking to my friend who is also a coach. I was telling her about my self-talk. Now, at this point, I have been certified for like 3-4 years. I am a coach. I know what my brain is supposed to be doing. This is not what it was doing, but I know what it's supposed to be doing, logically, right? With all of the vulnerability and honesty I had, I confessed that I say the worst things to myself that I would never let someone else say to me. Things about my intelligence, about my body, things about my abilities. Oh man, I could be brutal to myself. And no one else would hear it. It would only be in my head. No one else would even know about the bullying that was happening in here. They would just see me like, hey, how you doing? And I would be thinking, girl, look at your shoes. Or whatever happened to be the thing that I was worried about at that moment. I don't talk to anyone like this. Not one other person on this planet would hear this type of speaking from me. No, I reserve this special kind of abuse for myself and myself alone. I was literally the definition of a bully to myself. So she asked me a very simple question. She said, why are you doing that? And I didn't immediately have an answer for her. I said, I don't know. But soon I realized that it was a habit. I don't know when it started. I'm sure somewhere in my childhood, but I've been doing this to myself for most of my life. It was just what I did. It's just what happened. And because it was happening in my head, there was no one there to correct it, right? My mom couldn't say, girl, don't say that. You know, the adults who loved me in my life couldn't say, that is not true, stop. It never left my brain. So it just happened. And for 43 years, it was on repeat. And my brain knew exactly what to say to get under my skin. Ooh, my brain knew exactly what to say. But even though I had been doing this for all of this time, I had somehow reached a lot of my goals. I was a wife, I was a mother, I was a coach, I was living my life with all of that terrible stuff that I was saying to myself. So I was curious about what would happen in my life if I wasn't bullying myself. What could happen if my self-talk changed even a little bit? Because it's not possible to change a 40-something-year-old habit overnight, for sure. Habits have to be built, right? It has to happen over time. I didn't become a terrible bully to myself overnight, and I wasn't going to be super loving to myself overnight either. It was something that had to happen over time. So what could happen if I created a new habit? What if I created a habit of telling myself what an amazing person I am? Other people would tell me, and I would say, thank you. You don't know. What if I took the time to recognize the magic I bring into this world and then celebrate it? Ooh, not just recognize it, but also celebrate it. Eesh. That goes against so much of what I was taught growing up, right? You are not supposed to celebrate yourself. That is not very, what is it? It's vain, right? It's vain to celebrate yourself. It's vain to think highly of yourself. It's bad. You are supposed to be humble. You are not supposed to think wonderful things about yourself. People will think badly of you. Oh man, but if I do celebrate myself and think highly of myself, look at how brightly I get to shine and light up someone else because I'm shining so brightly, right? It's actually the exact opposite, but that takes some unlearning and relearning, and it takes some time. What if I choose to give most of my energy to recognizing the love I have inside of me and the love that is surrounding me? If I take most of my energy, because I know my brain, and it's gonna do what it does, but if I take most of my energy and recognize the love that I have inside of me and the love that is actually surrounding me, it drowns out so much of the negative that seems so present when I don't do that. It just isn't a thing anymore. The haters or negative folks or relatives who have funky things to say, it really just, I don't hear them anymore. I'm sure they're still who they are, and they're still doing what they do. I literally don't have the energy. Like, I have just put all of my energy into paying attention to the love. I don't have the energy to even hear that anymore. And because I don't have the energy for that anymore, it doesn't exist. It can just be over there where it is, and it gets to live there. I'm not going to tell it has to go away. It can live its whole life. I just don't have to participate in that. What in the world could I accomplish? If I've accomplished my dreams, bullying myself, what in the world could I accomplish if I were loving myself truly, giving myself a high five, giving myself a little dance when I've had a small victory, when I've been able to stop my kid from a meltdown before it happens? Go, Mom, What if I just let myself do that? What could happen? So this is just a little participation moment, okay? And I want you to think about some of the things that's happening in your life right now that you may be able to accomplish if you are able to give most of your energy to not just saying nice things to yourself, but also celebrating the exquisite human being that you are. So has anyone heard of TikTok? You know, TikTok, the app TikTok. So there's a trend on there where they say, tell me a story about when you went to Kentucky. I don't know, I made that up. I've never heard that. And then they say, I'll go first, right? And then they tell their story. Well, a lot of times people will stitch in their stories. So I'm going to tell my story really quickly, and you don't have to tell a story. You can just say the thing that would be amazing if you just switched up your self-talk a little bit. So for me, I never wanted to be a millionaire. I thought that was there's a lot. $1 million is a lot of dollars, and I don't need $1 million. I'm fine. I'm good. I just wanted to be, a good six-figure coach, comfy, I'm donating money to people. My kid goes to college. If I get a flat tire, it's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Just a nice little comfy life, right? I was good, and that was my goal. Until I am ready to retire, I'm just gonna do a nice little six-figure life. And then a few weeks ago, I was doing a podcast with my friend Claire, and yes, she's amazing. She is. And we were doing a podcast, and I had on a sweatshirt, a Black History Month sweatshirt, and it was talking about all of the amazing Black women who have done things in the world. And one of them was Madam C.J. Walker, who I've always had a connection with. My maiden name is Walker, and I was like, oh my goodness, as a child, there's a building downtown with my name on it, and it's because of this wonderful lady. She's pretty cool, and all of that, And then when I got older and learned more about her story, I was like, oh, okay, Madam C.J. Walker, okay, do that. And then when I was sitting there talking to Claire, I realized that Madam C.J. Walker was in the exact same city as me when she made $1 million 100 years ago. As a Black woman in Indiana, she made $1 million, $1 million, 100 years ago. What does that equate to dollars now? A lot more than $1 million, right? A Black woman in Indianapolis, Indiana, who lives 10 minutes south of where I live, made $1 million 100 years ago. Why in the world couldn't I do that 100 years later in the exact same city where she did that? I had that revelation on the podcast. I was like, oh my goodness. Well, the road has been paved. Why don't I just take a stroll down the road? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for me and my family and all of the people that I can help with that money, because my mentor coach let me know, as soon as that money hits your account, you realize it's not yours, right? You're just a steward of that money. That means that God trusted you to put the money where it needs to be. I got that responsibility. I get it. I'm ready to be that steward. But also, what was the also? See, this is with the ADHD when you go off script. But also, I want to be able to honor the work that she did in walking down that path that she so bravely made for me in this city 100 years ago. So that is the thing that I can do as I continue my practice of self-love. I will become a millionaire in Indianapolis, Indiana, just like Madam C.J. Walker, which is my maiden name. So I will be, well, I'll still be Rashida Bonds, but still, the name is still there. It's still in my heart. So does anyone, you don't have to share, but I would love for you to think at least about that thing that you want to do for real, that kind of just seems like this is reality, and it seems like it's just like right there. And how that thing comes just a little bit closer when your dialogue to yourself is changed, and when you're speaking kinder to yourself, and when you're celebrating the magnificence that you bring to this planet. So building this new habit can be scary, like a roller coaster scary. You will come face to face with all the magnificent things you can be and the ways that you can make this world and the world around you a better place. And that can be intimidating. Little old me making this big of an impact? Oh, that is too many things. I am really good at cleaning my house. I am really good at cleaning my house, and I am really good at making sure my daughter goes to bed on time. But making sure people's lives are better, that's too much. But it isn't. We were created by the most divine. We are his kids. My kid walks around with a very smart mouth. She didn't get pew pew right. Truly, and I'm ducking all the time. She didn't get that by herself. She didn't get that by herself. She got that from me. She did. Her father has his own special gifts that he gave her, but that mouth, it came straight from me. In the same way my daughter is able to express herself in the most vibrant ways. She got that from me. We got divinity from our Creator. All of the traits that are in the magic of God, the excellence of God, are in us because we're his kids. I went off script there, but it's true. Those are things that is true. So we don't have to be intimidated by the excellence that's inside of us that we have to give to others because it was given to us for a reason. Number 3, grace for yourself is divine. Why was my self-talk so bad? Well, as forgetful as it is, my mind keeps score. It will forget a lot of things, people's names, whole events that happened in my life, but it won't forget my failures. It won't forget my embarrassing moments. It won't forget the times that I was hurt so badly that I didn't think that I would recover. It remembers all those things very well. And it does a really good job of helping me, in coaching, we do a lot of work helping recognize when our brains aren't helping us, and it happens way more than we realize. My coach pointed things out to me, and every time I gain a little bit more respect for all the creative ways my brain tries to stop me from winning. My mind remembers societal norms. It tells me why I won't be taken seriously. My mind remembers how dyslexia crippled me in elementary and middle school, completely leaving out how I excelled in high school, so that I don't make a fool of myself starting and running my own business. My mind remembers what the adults that I loved and trusted said to me as a child that broke my spirit, and reminds me that they must be right because they were the ones who knew me best. My brain is doing its very best to protect me from the dangers of hurt and embarrassment. It isn't a vengeful brain. It doesn't want me to not win. It's just trying to protect me. My brain wants me to be too scared to make another mistake. We may not survive it this time, but that's where grace comes in. I have given grace to others without a second thought. I have given grace to others with many second thoughts and third and fourth thoughts. But the grace has come, right? But it is truly divine to give myself grace the way my Creator does. I was talking to my mom about this before I came here today, and she was like, well, Rashida, that's really hard because I made a lot of mistakes in my life. And I said, yeah. Just like with children, children make mistakes because they're learning the world around them. And just because you hit a certain age doesn't mean that you aren't still learning the world around you. You absolutely have to make mistakes so that you know better. You touch that stove and it's hot, well, you know not to touch it again, right? And sometimes that's what our mistakes are like. But you are absolutely doing your best with the knowledge that you had in that moment. And even if you knew better in that moment and you still did the thing, you were doing your best with the willpower that you had in that moment. So you can't judge yourself on the lesson that you learned after you made the mistake. You're wise now because of the mistake. So that this mistake deserves the grace because it made you better today. It made you wiser today. It made it so that you don't touch that stove again. It made it so that you don't enter that relationship again. Even though it has a different face, it has a very familiar feeling, and you know not to enter that friendship or that romantic relationship or that working relationship. You're not going to take that job because it feels very much like this other job that just sucked your soul. No, thank you. That is what we need. That's what we do. Even as adults, we learn lessons. And so we deserve that grace because we had to learn that lesson to become the excellent, magnificent thing you see before you today. And as long as we are on this planet, we're going to continue to make mistakes. And I think those mistakes are something to celebrate because it continues to grow us and show us and pull us and make us and mold us into the person that we are meant to be. It's to be celebrated. When my brain begins to tell me why I can't do something, I tell my brain that everything's going to be okay. I tell my brain that I can protect us now. I may not have been able to when I was 12 or 15 or 20, but I got it together today, enough to make sure that we're going to be okay, even if we fail, especially if we fail. When my brain tells me I will fail, I give it evidence of when I have succeeded. And I give it examples of when failing has helped us in the past. My brain is trying to protect me. That knowledge helps me have all the grace in the world when it starts to talk crazy to me. And it loves to talk crazy to me. Instead of believing the hype, I like to just reassure it. I now speak to myself like I am someone that I adore, someone that I love more than I can express, because I am someone that I adore and that I love more than I can express. I speak to myself like I am the kid that is scared and is learning the lesson. And I say, it's okay, baby, I got you. And sometimes we just have to talk to ourselves like that. It's okay. Watch me. I tell my daughter that all the time. Mom, what's going to happen? Just watch your mother be excellent, girl. Watch me. And I tell myself that. Rashida, I don't know. Girl, sit down and watch me be excellent. Right? We can speak to ourselves with all of the love and the grace because it is divine. Because no matter what we do, God always gives us grace. Thank you, God. And we can learn from that example and not just give it to others, but bestow that magnificent grace upon ourselves. Number 4, last thing. You are a creation of the Most Divine. Treat yourself as such. Just like the birds, the trees, the waterfalls, butterflies, and gorgeous sunsets, we are the result of an incredibly creative God. Can we take a second to breathe that in? I'm gonna say it again, and then we're gonna breathe it in. Okay, here we go. Just like the birds, the trees, waterfalls, butterflies, and sunsets, we are the result of an incredibly creative God. Now let's take a moment and breathe that in. Oh man. The beautiful complexities that makes us is beyond what we can understand. I mean, there are many smart doctors and scientists that understand a lot about the human body, but the spirit of the human, that it still holds so much mystery in the academic world. One thing I know is that because we are with ourselves all day and all night, it becomes easy to take our magical existence for granted, right? We become ordinary, unexciting. I have to tell you from personal experience, going on this inward journey, rediscovering the magic inside of me has shown me that I am anything but ordinary. I am an extraordinary creation of the Most Divine. That is pretty dope. It is quite intimidating, but it's also very dope, okay? So are you. Every single one of you are an extraordinary creation of the Most Divine. How will you handle yourself with care? How will you celebrate yourself? Really think about that. I had a coach that told me, you're not excited about this when I was able to quit my 9-to-5 and become a full-time coach. I was like, why am I not excited? She said, because you were never taught to celebrate yourself. Learn how to do that, and you'll become excited. So something really cool happened in my business. My husband was in the living room watching TV, and I went in front of him while he was watching his Law & Order, and I didn't care. I know that he loves Law & Order. I don't care, because I'm excited right now. So I was just like, hey. And he was like, hi, I'm watching TV. And I was like, I don't care. This really wonderful thing happened. He was like, all right. And at that moment, that was all the celebration I needed. I didn't need wine. I didn't need pop champagne. I didn't need to get a cake. I just needed to dance and interrupt Law & Order. I took up space that moment. And he was happy. He ended up getting up and dancing with me. There was no music. We didn't need it. The moment was enough, right? How will you celebrate yourself? How will you speak to yourself? How and when will you give yourself grace? How will you honor yourself as a sacred creation? What will your days and nights look like if you spent the time appreciating yourself for what you bring to this world? How better can you serve the world around you when you know that you are giving them a bit of your divine magic? You are giving them the once-in-a-lifetime gift that is you. There was not one before you. There will not be one after. They are getting the most magnificent creation that is you, and they are lucky in this moment. And I am lucky in this moment that we were here together and we were able to share this planet in this time. Self-care, as the world talks about it, is not a bad thing. I love a good massage, okay? I love spa days with champagne and facials and someone rubbing my toes. I love it. I love vacations and walks on the beach. I love taking walks in nature when it's warm. I love yoga classes. I love all of the things that they want us to spend all of our money on. Self-care is a very lucrative business these days. But the real, authentic, sustaining self-love is an inside job. It's a daily practice. I want to emphasize practice because it is most likely we will never get off of, it's most likely we will get off course and we will need to redirect ourselves back to the place of self-love time after time. But in my opinion, that's just another thing to celebrate. You are worth celebrating every day. And I am celebrating all of you today because you allowed me to come here and speak to you. And I appreciate it so much. Thank you.